Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. Today I'm joined by Tucker as usual, and we're here on our fucking wonderful journey into the world of PS5 coverage. And we are talking about the game that a lot of people played first when they booted up their systems because it comes pre-installed. And as of course, Team Asobi's Astro's Playroom. Now, Tucker, I've been writing a lot about this game for CBR. I've been very excited. I had Miles, I have other games to play on my PS5, but I knew, irregardless, to use more words that don't exist,
Wow.
the first thing I want to play, no matter what, is Astro. And I did, and I beat it last night. Have not gotten the platinum yet. I'll do that today. I was a tired boy, so I went to sleep, but I have finished the game.
Reasonable.
You've gotten the platinum. Tucker, what do you think of Astro's Playroom?
Absolutely fantastic pack-in title. Like this is up there. It's got to be one of the best pack-ins of all time. Unfortunately, I think that the pack-in nature of it is going to mean that it gets overlooked, both in critical regard, discussion about first-party games for the system, just overall tone of discussion of the PS5. But I don't think that's fair because it's an absolutely fantastic game. I platinumed it the first night that I had access to my PlayStation. I got the platinum at about 2 a.m., so I was up a little late getting that done. But I did, and I'm very satisfied with it. It's not a game that I think I'll ever go back to necessarily. It's sort of as a nostalgia trip, maybe nearing the end of the PS5 life cycle. But having that platinum and having done literally everything there is in the game to do, I have the platinum. I don't think it's something I want to go back to, but I was very satisfied with my experience.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. This is one of my favorite modern platformers.
Oh, okay, cool.
Period. I'm incredibly heartened by the fact that at the end of this game, they're like, Astrobot will return for future adventures. Mm-hmm. At the end screen, and that in the PlayStation blog, they say that, Astro will have more news to share because Team Asobi is so fucking talented at making 3D platformers. I think what's most excellent about this game is the way that, similar to the 2D sections in Super Mario Odyssey, Team Asobi knows how to leverage nostalgia while feeling incredibly modern. The way that this marries a 2020 platformer with 25 years of PlayStation is incredible. It's really incredible, and it brought a smile to my face continually. And it wasn't just those moments where you get the homages to various games, which are fucking phenomenal, but just in the way that the moment-to-moment gameplay is so fun and inventive and lighthearted. I really loved it.
Yeah, so I think that this game's strongest aspect is in the referentialness. That's not a fucking word.
Referentiality.
Referentiality to the PlayStation's history. I would play through almost this entire game with my friend Joe by my side, watching me through, and the two of us were able to piece together 90% of the references, and there are some fucking deep cut references here, especially in some of the artifacts that you collect, being like random officially licensed Sony gadgets for like the PS2 and stuff like that. Like some of those were deep fucking cuts.
The PSP could have a lot of weird shit attached to it. I learned playing that
game. GPS thing. That was a weird one to get. The GPS thing. We're like, what the fuck is this? Oh, I guess that's right. They did have whatever. But yeah, that was fun. And I do think that having the tons and tons of PlayStation references to all sorts of games scattered throughout the environments made the game a lot more engaging because you were always on the lookout for something that could reference a game, for the little guy with the blue cap and the camera who was always filming each of the references. And that was just so much fun, especially going through, collecting all the things, watching your puzzle wall fill up like a fucking 3DS Street Pass puzzle. And I really enjoyed that. I do think, however, that it does play into the fact that this game, in my opinion, one of its weaker aspects is the fact that the Astro stuff is not particularly memorable. The enemy designs are nothing. They're just generic fucking little robot guys. Astro himself is pretty charming, but outside of that, it's just, hey, this is a 3D platformer. And I think that the way they spice it up is by including all the references and making it a PlayStation history thing, which I think is a great idea. And if they continue that out throughout this series, I think that could give it its own identity as the celebration of PlayStation's history. But unfortunately, I just don't think that the overall design, especially of the enemies and the characters, are strong enough to really stand on their own.
So I think this is where we're going to diverge, because I disagree on that point. And so I also come to this having more experience with Astro. Astro has
Yeah.
always had this weird weaving history through PlayStation, beginning with the PS4 and the Playroom and Playroom VR tech demos, those are tech demos.
Yeah.
This feels like a small game, a little
Hmm.
package that is also a tech demo, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
But I actually really love the aesthetic of Astro.
I'm not
And
saying I dislike the aesthetic. I think the visuals are fantastic. I love the color palettes of the worlds, especially. But it's particularly going to the character design. I think the white and black and blue is just not particularly visually engaging, and the enemies are just little fucking balls with legs. Like they're just not. I don't know.
but here's the thing. That's what kind of how I feel about a lot of Mario's enemies. But I feel like a lot
Sure.
of Mario's enemies are just in the cultural consciousness to the point where they've
Okay.
become
Yeah.
endearing. I think what's great about Astro is that he moves away from the natural into the realm of the mechanical, which
Hmm.
gives everything about his world this fun feel. I think that the little robots are very charming. I think great 3D platformer or 2D platformer character designs are simple. They're the sort of things that I used to draw when I was a little kid. You know, I drew my Goombas. I can see little kids drawing these guys, and I think their facial expressions are personable. And I think that the way that the entire PlayStation 5 ethos is this more like futuristic,
Yeah.
architectural thing. And I think Astro's aesthetic and his characters fit in really nicely with that. And then when you get some of the larger things, you get the big robots, you get some of the bosses, and you get more of this in Astrobot Rescue Mission. But I think the way that theme is doubled down on, I think is actually really elegant. And I really like being in the world of Astro, removed from the context of the PlayStation history stuff.
Sure. I understand that. I think I personally just need more time to sit with the characters. This is my
Sure.
first exposure to them, and it's probably more games for them to appear in. Because you do make an excellent point that their simple designs do lend themselves to possibly becoming iconic. Just at the moment, they just don't feel particularly special to me. But I will give them the benefit of the doubt and look back in 20 years and see how I feel. But I also want to talk about just how much fun these worlds were to explore.
Yes.
I did the platinum, meaning I went to all the secrets and stuff like that, and it's just very intuitively designed. There's none of the secrets that are super frustrating to find. It's the kind of thing where, okay, I noticed something sort of weird in the environment, or there's like a diverging path, and okay, the coins want me to go this way, so I should go the other way and see what they have hidden over there. And usually you're rewarded by something. I do wish that some of the PlayStation references were hidden in those areas. I know a few of them have it, but a lot of them are just straight out in the open where you can find them. But I was hoping for a couple of hidden ones that made you feel like you were discovering something. That's definitely a nitpick. But overall, there are four, technically five levels in this game, and I think that they're all varied. I think one of the greatest aspects of this game is that you can access them in any order. And each of the four areas in each world, you can access those whenever you want. And it makes it feel a lot more bite-sized and manageable to get collectibles. And it's a really interesting gameplay loop that I think works really well for easing me into a new 3D platformer.
I think what's great about the world is that it operates in multiple levels. And like you're saying, I think it's designed in a really intuitive way. So I beat the game and I got a lot of the collectibles, but there's still things I missed. I'm excited to go back and see what I had overlooked. But the moment that really stunned me about the way that the game is composed is when I realized that this takes place inside my PS5. We've got the walls of the systems on either side, and you're going into the GPU and the
Yeah.
SSD and the memory and everything. And that's such a clever way to make these disparate themes feel composed and cohesive.
Well, the levels themselves are not in any way related. They're named memory meadows and GPU or SSD Speedway, GPU jungle, all that. But other than that, they're kind of just platforming levels that are in the context of entering the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes it special, because it's a game about imagination. It's about imagining these are the things happening inside your machine. So you're in cooling
Sure.
springs and you've got the fans spinning and it's changing the temperature of the area. I just think that the idea of it interfacing with the actual hardware does a lot to sell the aesthetic and does a lot
Sure.
to sell Astro's world of this mechanical meeting with the real world, with the digital and all this. I think it's really clever.
Yeah.
The last thing I really want to touch on, because I know we don't have a ton of time, but the last thing I want
10
to
more
touch
minutes.
on is the DualSense and the way that the game uses the DualSense.
Yeah.
So I think that the one place where Astro's Playroom falters is the fact that it is primarily showing off of the DualSense.
I agree.
So when you zip yourself into the little different suits, I think that the game changes its level of quality depending which one you're in. I think a lot of them are very fun. I think the one in GPU Jungle is great. I love the monkey suit.
That was my least favorite personally.
My least favorite was the ball.
I like the ball.
My problem with it is it didn't feel precise. I wish I had done that with a gyroscope, because I thought back to you must have played them recently, the ball levels in Super Mario Galaxy where you control the gyroscope with that, and that felt way more natural. It's
basically just that, yeah.
It's that, but it's a little bit more cumbersome because you're trying to fucking swipe your finger on the touchpad the size of a postage stamp.
Yeah.
I texted you SSD because the music is very catchy and a little surreal. In SSD Speedway, especially, they keep going SSD. I actually
GPU Jungle, the song.
I'm stupid.
Did you find the lyrics?
Yeah, it took me a second to hear what they were singing, but when they did, I was kind of vibing.
It's a full fucking song.
I did enjoy it.
And you found the lyrics?
Yeah.
On the wall in like fucking cave writing.
That's a great moment. But I like that one too because the adapted triggers are going to fucking take me out of this reality. I'm no longer going to have any sense of what's real and what's fake because those triggers are so incredible. That was what Astro showed me beyond anything else. The haptics are cool. The gyro is cool. The touchpad, these things are familiar, but those triggers are something else entirely.
They're interesting. I think that the really, at least for me, the only time I really felt like they were adding anything was when you had to only half press them in for the monkey area. And I thought that was cool. It felt a little bit like, okay, we want to show you that this can do it, and not necessarily super naturally integrated into the gameplay because you had to zip yourself into a suit in order to experience those. If the half presses had been included somehow in Astro's moveset, I feel like that would be have it felt a little more naturally integrated into the gameplay. But overall, I'm glad that they do mix up the gameplay essentially every other level with the suits because I think it allows you to see a lot of different things. But unfortunately, I don't think that tech demo aspect of it really clicked with me too much, especially because I'm gonna put this out there. I mentioned this in the Miles Morales review, but I'm not a huge fan of the haptic. It's kind of just worse HD rumble in my opinion. And it really ended up numbing my fingers when you get to some of those areas where it's going full force. I think that when it's subtly used, like feeling the rain go on you or things zooming past you, I think those are good implementations of it. But when it's really going hard, it just feels too much for me. And maybe I just need to turn it down in the settings or something like that. But it really, I think, was overutilized in this. And it really made me feel like, okay, they want to show me this and not that I was naturally organically integrated.
I think it is smart that Sony's letting you on a hardware level address those things because I can totally see that perspective. From the other side, I really love this. And I want to save a lot of this for when we actually do our just impressions of the system as a whole. But immediately my mind went to PSVR 2 when that comes out and you're playing games with the DualSense. Having this in there is really interesting. Like when you're doing the gotcha machine, which I absolutely love. I don't know why those things just really charm me. And you have to pull harder when you're actually crushing the capsules. I just think it does add an extra level of immersion for me that I really appreciate. I need to go back to more HD Rumble intensive games to really feel and compare. I didn't feel that it was lesser than. It's certainly a reaction to. I think it reminds me a lot of when the second best game of all time, Star Fox 64, introduced the Rumble Pack, and then the DualShock then had Rumble as a response to that.
Yeah,
the haptics.
the PS3 haptics suck. They're terrible.
Yes, that controller is just not good.
No. Yeah.
By the way, this Astro did remind me that the PS2 has analog face buttons, which I'd totally forgotten about, which is a really weird thing.
I did not remember that.
But no, I did enjoy the DualSense integration, and above all, those were the moments that Astro, I think, wasn't always firing on every cylinder. I mean, you'd have to fire on both cylinders when you're in fucking SSD Speedway. But my point is, while it was cool, I'm excited for this team to get the opportunity to make that full game and not be hampered by the secondary objective, which is to illustrate the power the DualSense
100% agree.
behind me.
Yeah. I think I want to end with just a couple of final points. I gave this game an 4 out of 5 on my backlog. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Am I? Oh my god, it's sitting right there. Whatever. But as I'm loading a sneeze into my fucking nose pistol, I want to just discuss some of my favorite little references that they had.
Yes.
In the first level, you get first one I played, which was Cooling Springs.
Cooling Springs.
Yeah, Cooling Springs. There was a lot of ones that I personally really enjoyed. You get right off the bat, you get Kratos and Atreus on the boat. You get a Loco Roco, which was the first one I saw, and I was like, oh shit, they did it. They referenced Loco Roco.
Oh, that's what that one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big thing. Yeah. And also I liked there's some of them that are a little more deep cut, like off in the background sort of things. There's that Last Guardian one that's like this weird bird thing that's kind of like a Trico from the game, but it's not exactly. And we're like, okay, is that Last Guardian? But it's really fun to want to pay attention to the environment in those ways. And also just the fact that there's so much going on in these environments. There's always little Astrobot guys doing things in the background, hanging off of cliffs, flapping in the wind. They're just doing these little wacky things that are totally unnecessary, but they had so much charm to the environments that it always made it fun to like look off. It's like, okay, what's going on? What did they hide? And I think that that's really cool. And it makes me excited for this to be expanded into something a lot larger, because I feel like this really could be enhanced with larger environments, with more detailed gameplay and upgrades for Astro, and a more designed campaign. I think that if it was more of a straightforward path and you could feel like you're growing in power and difficulty and stuff like that, that would be really cool. I think the layout of this game, as I said, with the fact that you can access any level at any time, works really well for this. But for the series, I really want to see it take that next step forward into a full 3D platforming game that is designed like other ones. But
yeah,
good on you, Team Asobi. Made a great pack-in title.
Great pack-in title. Quickly, my favorite references. I love the Last of Us one. I love the way that they integrated that.
Mushrooms on the head.
At first, I was like, "Oh, is this Until Dawn?" And then I quickly saw the clicker in the background. I'm like, "Oh shit, that's Last of Us." I love that. Love the Devil May Cry one.
Yeah, that was good.
Love the Resogun one. There's a lot that I really loved. I have so many fucking pictures. By the way, this share button's so much better. We'll talk about this later.
Oh yeah.
But I have so many screenshots.
Also, the card system works really well for this. When you're trying to platinum it, just test out the card system because it shows you what things you haven't completed. Boom, click on that right to where you want to go. I love that.
I haven't used the cards yet. I'll use that today when I go for my platinum. But yeah, I am going to, after this, be putting this into my games I beat in 2020 backlog thing. You're going to be surprised where it sits. I didn't want to do it, so I didn't want you to see ahead of time because you're a fucking serial checker of those things.
Oh, yeah.
But guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning and chatting about Astro's Playroom. We'll be back with plenty of more PS5 coverage. We've got all kinds of great things in the works. We're going to be talking about Bug Snacks. I installed it last night.
Okay.
And in the meantime, please give this video a like and subscribe if you want to. Just know that if you don't, I will know and I will be disappointed.
And I'll be very sad. I'll be saddened deeply. Deeply,
you don't want to do that to us.
And dishearteningly.
Don't do that to us.
It brings a tear to my eye.
Goodbye. I woke up this morning and I watched a Gex video. I'm like, holy Christ, this is what Tucker was talking about. So then I found out.
I was surprised you didn't get that because that's like the thing about Gex.
I don't know. I didn't know shit about Gex. So now I watched a bunch of Gex videos this morning. Now I want to play Gex.
That's unfortunate. I'm sorry.